Hello, so it's that time of the year where CIPD have produced a new set of assessments, and this video we're going to look at 5CO03, which is professional behaviours and valuing people. This assessment come out June 2025. Centres have until September, I think, for the moderation before they need to move on to this new assessment. So if you're thinking about switching from the old one to this new one, what we're going to do is we're going to go through this assessment with you today and see whether or not you think it's worth making the switch over. Okay, so this unit, just to give you a bit of background, focuses on applying core professional behaviours such as ethics, courage, inclusivity, how to build positive working relationships, support employee voice and well-being, and it considers how developing and mastering new professional behaviours and practices can impact performance. Just like with the last one, it's broken into two sections. So you've got a task one and a task two. So, right, let's not beat around the bush, let's dig into it. So the task, you must complete two tasks. The first one requires you to answer 6 questions referring to the case study about the purpose and value of the people professional. Your answer should respond accurately to the question, and you should be informed by wider reading, academic text, article, and relevant publications. For the second task, you will conduct a professional review of your own strengths, weaknesses, and development areas. To ensure that your work is presented clearly, typically subheadings or AC references to link to your response to the questions. So what they mean by that is you write AC 1.1 and then you write your script underneath, AC 1.2 and everything underneath. If you've exceeded the word count by more than 10%, your work will be referred. References should be included within your answers unless the question specifically states that they're not required. And there is a couple of questions where it's like you don't need to give any references within this example as well. So let's dig into it. Now, task one. Task one, and what's slightly different about the new 5CO03 to the old one is there's a big focus on case study. Case study is going to be essential. So you need to almost read this case study before you start to write any of your answers moving forward. The biggest tip I can give you is read the case study before you start writing, because even if you've done all your reading, your pre-reading, you've got an idea in your head, you still need to look at it through the lens of the fictitious organization. And today, that fictitious organization is Nexobyte, a rapidly growing software company. Nexobyte was established 2 years ago by Kit, the only director until recently joined by a new business partner, Aisha. The organization has quickly grown and organically currently consists of 23 software engineers in 3 teams. 3 team managers, 2 administration staff, and 2 directors. Since joining Nexobyte, the second director, Aisha, has been concerned about the way things are being run and has brought you in to help make improvements. Aisha's main concerns are the lack of standard procedures, the lack of management capabilities. None of the 3 team leaders have had any management training or experience prior to being informally allocated their roles by Kit. With Kit fully occupied by marketing, promoting the business, the team managers have been free to recruit and manage their teams as they choose, calling on the administration staff for support when needed. Consequently, the teams have been managed quite differently, leading to inconsistent practices, e.g. different working arrangement, different access to paid L&D, several employees' complaints about some loss of valuable staff. As you know, 3 different leaders, 3 different ideas. If there's no standardized leader at the top, then things can sometimes go a little bit of a miss. So that's why you've been brought in. You've been brought into Nexobyte as a specialist HR who's going to critically evaluate what they're doing, and you're going to answer some questions that have been set by the leaders to really sort of help this business grow. So within task 1, you've got to write written responses to questions 1 to 6, and you have approximately 2,400 words. That is, he says, 400 words per AC. So you have 400 words to answer the question in its component parts, making sure that you've got multiple references, making sure that you refer to the case study, making sure that everything is in line to answer the question. Okay, so 400 words a question. That's what we're gunning for here. So that's what we're going to make sure that happens. And so question 1, and as you'll see, these questions are there's quite a bit of intro into them, because again, what they're trying to make you do here, CIPD, is getting to the mindset of you work for Nexobyte. So, as part of her actions to improve systems and procedures at Nexabyte, Asia has established a monthly on-site management meeting to be attended by her, Kit, and the 3 team leaders. She would like you to make a short presentation at the first meeting appraising what it means to be a people professional and some of the ways, cheeky S, CIPD Level cheeky S, so as you'll see here, ways, so they're looking for multiple, you can contribute at Nexabyte. Provide a written response covering the points you would include in this presentation. And there's a note, there is no requirement to present anything. This is only providing a written answer. So again, it's writing up a plan as opposed to, as we know in most organizations, PowerPoint. These want a written things. So what does it mean to be a people professional? That's part of the question. What are the ways, multiple, because you've got an S there, that you can contribute to Nexabyte? Evidence, action, evidence, action. So it's not what CIPD don't want you to do here is just go, this is what it means to be a people professional as per CIPD. Here's a reference. Some of the ways we can contribute, and then just write a list of stuff. They want you to prove it. So again, imagine these people have been given free rein to do whatever they want for the last however many years, and what you've got to do is prove some of the ways you can contribute. So if it's recruitment and selection, what evidence can you provide in a reference and a citation to show, well, actually, this is how having HR involved? If it comes to learning and development, what evidence can you find? Evidence, action, evidence, action. Prove your thinking. Prove why you're right, because it's not your opinion versus their opinion, then it's their opinion versus evidence and action. That's what you need to be thinking when you're approaching this. Okay, so question 2. You're excited by your new role, and whilst you can see there's a lot to do, you feel ready for the challenge. See, it's prepping, Discuss 2 of your personal or ethical values that you believe will help you in your new role, and how consistently applying these in the people practice role at Nexabyte. So, and this is where the questions get a little bit tricky, because it's asking you to apply some of yourself, and this is what I think, but it's also asking you to find evidence and proof. So discuss 2 of your personal or ethical values. This is what I think is important, and how you think what you think is important will help with the new role, and how consistently applying these, this is where the references and the citations come in, will inform people practice. So again, if it's fairness and equality, the Equalities Act of 2010, for example, can show you how effectively applying these is beneficial to the business. And then you find a case, you reference the case. You see what I mean? That way you're giving what you think, and you're proving why what you think is right. Again, it's not just your opinions. It's your opinions backed up by evidence, and that might be case law, might be a case study, it might be anything. But make sure that when you're answering this question, you are providing evidence on top of just your opinion. Question 3, HR has emphasized that she wants you to be a firm voice for people practice at Nexabyte. This means communicating with the management in an informed, clear, and confident way to convince them of the need for change and new ways of working. Consider why it's important to communicate in this way, and 2 potential consequences, one for you and one for the business, if you're unable to do so. Now, one of the things that people in HR complain about all the time is, they don't listen to HR, they just do what they want, we're just asked to do these things. Well, your voice is critical to that. Your voice is critical to ensuring that if you think an organization needs to make some change, or you think an organization needs to do something different, you can put that across. That's what this question is asking you to do. Why is it important to communicate in a clear, informed, and confident way? Why is it important to put evidence above feelings? How do you do that? What are the personal consequences if you don't do that? What are the professional consequences if you don't do that? And evidence those consequences. In case study, evidence, company performance, there's loads of stuff out there. So again, think about how you've heard so many people say, well, the HR aren't listened to, we're just doing this, we're just doing that, we're just doing this. Or if you need a firm voice, and you don't do that, you could just end up organising office Christmas parties and stuff like that. If you have got a firm voice and you're listened to by the business, then culture, ethics, structure, fairness, equality, it starts to come through. And that's what this question's trying to make you understand. How firm do I need to be to ensure that this happens? Okay, 400 words per question. 400 words per question in this section. I'm just going to remind you of it again. 400 words per question and why it's important. So there's a little bit of self-witness again, one personal consequence, one professional. But when you start talking about consequences, that's where the references are essential. That's where the citations are essential. That's where you need to prove your thinking through external evidence. Question 4. During conversation to administration staff, you learn more about the problems that have been at the Nexabyte. Some of these have involved unethical behaviour. One manager regularly approving attendance and expensive training events and conferences for his favourite team members, whilst consistently refusing similar requests from others. And even some illegal activity for former employee using Nexabyte work time and equipment to operate his own separate business. None of this will happen now. You're here. Explain how, if you'd been at Nexabyte and were aware of these two situations when they existed, you would have approached and raised them. So what would you do? Whistleblowing, telling, escalation, legal procedures, disciplinary procedures. What are the things you would do, and how does it safeguard the business? How do you safeguard the business by these actions? These are the critical things that you need to have in there. Question 5. You are pleased that your presentation to the managers meeting, CQ question 1, was well received. However, one manager has since commented in the manager chat group, we don't really need to change anything. This company's doing well financially. And anyway, people work much harder when they're not protected by a lot of feel-good policies and procedures. You want to respond to this comment in a professional and informative way, in which can help you challenge these views. This is a question every HR person's probably come across at some point, which is, we don't need to change anything. Everything's good here. And that's probably because people are getting their own way and it's not necessarily good for the business. So with reference to research or a theory, argue the human and business benefits of making people feel included, valued, and fairly treated. What evidence can you find in academic theory, so human theory, to make sure that you demonstrate that there's both a personal and business value to treating people fairly and giving people a voice and listening to what people have to say, and not letting these managers run off like their own little special sunflower that wants to do whatever they want. That's what this question is trying to make you think about. Okay, question 6. Following several complaints about unfair practice in relation to staff training, HR has asked you to advise a fair staff learning and development policy, which will include all staff members, and it will set out factors such as allowable paid time development activities, individual training budgets, some types of learning activity that can be included. Discuss the steps you will take to make your design of the initiative fair and inclusive, and how you would check after 3 months of implementation the initiative is as inclusive as you have intended. So there's a note here which is there's no need to devise a policy here, only discuss how you would design it to be inclusive, or how you would check its inclusivity after 3 months. So imagine this is a manager asking you this question. How would you go about something like this? How would we do it? How do we design something that's fair? How do we check it works? So how would you go about designing something that is fair and inclusive? How do you check? Who do you engage with? Who do you check with? Who do you talk to? Who do you listen to? What situations do you set up to make sure everyone's got a voice? How do you anonymize people that have got negative things to say and don't want any pushback on it? How do you approach these different elements? That's what it's asking you to do. And again, references and citations are essential when you're going through this, so make sure that everything you're doing is backed up by evidence. Prove your thinking with a reference and a citation. Now, if you're enrolled with HRC Online, you will get access to CIPD Bite Size all the way through. We create short videos on every single AC where we break down the question into its component parts. We give you some recommended reading materials to sort of help push you along in the right direction on the question. And we also create a fictitious story to really sort of bring the question to life, but in a different way. So instead of talking about it from a HR perspective, we might talk about it in terms of a cosmic Bake Off, or we might talk about it in extreme pogo sticking. It's just a question to sort of give you a view of it from a completely different angle to make sure that you're able to understand what's going on. If you're not enrolled in HRC Online, don't worry, you can gain access to our bite-sized videos on our YouTube channel. It's $29.99 a month for level 5, and it's $23.99 a month for level 3. I'll double check the level 3, but it's $29.99 a month for level 5. So if you are struggling to answer some of these questions, you're not getting necessarily all the support that you want from your centre, and you want something a little bit extra, you can gain access to these bite-sized videos where we do a lot more of a breakdown of these questions than what you're currently getting here in the overview. Obviously, the overview is free for everyone. It's just to sort of give you an idea and get you in the mindset of what you need to do. But remember, everything's about the case study. So always read the case study before you start writing that. Task 2. I don't know why I said it like that, but we'll just go with it. Task 2. Okay, so this is the professional review. This task is not related to task 1 case study. It's just about your own awareness of strengths, weaknesses, and development areas. So no longer an exabyte. It's all about you. It's all about what you think. It's all about you. It's your development and it's your professional review. So written responses 7 to 10, approximately 850 words in total. A CPD record for question 11 that is required is not included in the word count. So 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 4 questions, 850 words. So 4 is not 0.04. You've got around about 200 words per question here. So they give you a lot of words for the next exabyte stuff. You are now limited on word count when it comes to this one, which is okay because a lot of it is forms and you'll see when we dig into it. Okay, so using a combination of your own reflections and feedback, so what you think about yourself, and feedback from one other person reviewing your behavior against the 6 associate level standards, which is working inclusively in the CIPD profession map. There is a URL here. You're not going to, please don't type this in section for section, just put CIPD profession map 6 appropriate level standards within Google. It'll take you to the page. Summarize your conclusions from this activity along with a brief explanation of who you involved and how their feedback informed your review. You do not need to provide a reference or an in-text citation for 2.3. So, you know, it's not going, it was Joanna, here's the mobile number if you want to ask her about what she said or anything like that. This is just speak to someone professionally. Think about what you're comfortable and uncomfortable with. What are your conclusions from this activity? What did you glean from them giving you that feedback? Connect the two together and give us 212.5 words. Don't know how you do the 0.5. Letting us know what you think. Summarize it. And then, but do it in against the 6 associate level standards. Make sure that you cover those. Question 8. Research and identify 2 ways the people practitioner role, generalist or any specialist, is evolving. Summarize these 2 developments and the implications, TTS, implications they have for your ongoing professional development. So 2 ways, developments and implications. Remember, you've only got 212 words for this. This you do need references and citations. If you think something's going to have an impact in your professional development going forward, prove it. Prove it with an article, prove it with a reference, prove it with some data, prove it with a case study, prove it with something. So 2 ways people practitioner role, generalist or specialist, is evolving. Summarize these 2 developments and the implications. So if it's AI, if it's home working, if it's something that you're currently involved in, make sure that you summarize what it is and the implications and the evidence as to why you've got these implications and why it could impact your ongoing professional development. Question 9, with reference to the reflections on question 7 and your research on question 8, assess your current strengths, weaknesses, and development areas in relation to people practice. No text citation to this. So this is basically strengths, weaknesses, development areas against, you can look at the 6 appropriate levels, what are you good at, what are you weak at, what are your development areas, what are you worried about in terms of professional development, connect the two questions together and just give us a bit of a SWOT, basically, a SWOT analysis in terms of what it is that you're doing. It doesn't need to, don't turn it into a graphic or anything like that. Again, you've got 212, but there's no references or citations to this. This is just using the previous two questions. You're going to be marked about, have you identified your strengths, weaknesses, and development areas, and how you're going, in relation to people practice. I was going to say the next bit, which is following on from your self-assessment, identifying your two development areas you will undertake or commence it. Identify two development areas you will undertake or start within the next 6 months. Provide a brief explanation of these activities you have selected, along with your reasons, cheeky S, plural, multiple reasons why you're choosing them. Don't need to provide a reference or a citation. So again, this can be short. It doesn't need to be reasons. Okay, well, once upon a time I was sat on top of a mountain and I was thinking about this and I had an epiphany. Right, I want to learn about JavaScript. The reason I want to learn about JavaScript is because more and more is going on in terms of connections and software's coming out. So I want to be able to connect different softwares together so that we can improve HR, communication and functionality, etc., etc. Or it might be I want to understand more about well-being initiatives because we've currently got a lot of people that are currently off sick, and I want to work out ways in which we can reduce that. I also want to be able to sort of provide support to people that are going through something difficult. Again, think about what it is from everything that you've done and what you want to do to improve it. That's pretty much all it's asking you to do. Now, final question. Shifting focus to development activities you've already undertaken over the last 2 years, reflect on two activities, formal or informal, that you consider have had the greatest impact on your behaviour and performance. Provide reflections attached to your assessment as either your own CPD record, edited to include the two activities, or a report or reports in the CIPD My Reflections tool. You don't need to provide a reference or an in-text citation for 3.4. Question 11, CPD report or reports as described in question 11 is not included in the word count. So this isn't a word count related one. So what have you done over the last 2 years to improve as a HR professional? And what's had the greatest impact on your behavior and performance? So it could be anything, but think about what it is. Basically, it's trying to teach you here to get into a reflective mindset and how you reflect on what you've done and what you've been learning and how you can apply what you've learned, because reflection's the key to sort of consistently learning and consistently ensuring that what you've learned stays within your mind. Reflections are a critical part of learning. So what have you learned over the last 2 years? What changes are you going to make based on what you've learned? And then from there, how do you take a step forward? That's it. 23 minutes. We've got the assessment, just game plan, prove your thinking in section 1. Don't forget who you work for Nexabyte. Section 2, what interests you? How do you want to improve? What type of HR professional do you want to do? What type of HR support does your business need from you at this moment in time? And if at any point, and you're not enrolled with HRC Online, you're enrolled with one of the other providers, but you need a little bit of extra help, you can always hit our YouTube channel and subscribe to our bite size, where we create a video per AC, breaking it down a little bit further, sort of point you some more reading directions and resources and external things for you to write. But absolutely best of luck with this unit. I'm sure you will do absolutely great, and we will catch you on the next one. Best of luck. Take care.